Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Sarah. Welcome. Okay, this video is going to be what I read in September. I know October just technically started, but I'm filming this on the last day of September, so I didn't get to read a lot this month. I moved into school, I got situated with that. I had so much stuff to do, like schoolwork, my computer's on. Schoolwork, my internship stuff, like YouTube stuff. I just was very overwhelmed and I got in a little bit of a book slump. I finally just got out of it with the most amazing book ever that I actually got from Book of the Month that I talked about in a previous video, The Love Hypothesis. So that's gonna be what I read in October because I did not finish it, but let me tell you, I'm loving it so far. So I didn't read a lot of books. I have them all in my notes right now, so I'm gonna talk about them there. All of these books are either on my Kindle or at school. I am home for the night right now, and I don't have any books with any of the books with me, but I'll put a little picture of what books I did read on the screen. Before we start, I just want to thank Book of the Month for sending me more books. I cannot explain how good they are to me because I got such good books from them. If you don't know what Book of the Month is, first of all, this is the little box it comes in. When you open it, you get a book, and then I also got a bunch of books picked out. So I am going to tell you about Book of the Month if you don't know anything about them, if you want to learn a little bit more before we get into it. So they are super popular and fast-growing online book service for readers. Their mission is to promote new and emerging authors, which is amazing. You get to read these books from newer authors, which, like I said, The Love Hypothesis that I started reading from them, it's so good. They help readers discover books that they love, which is amazing. If you are in the book world, which I'm sure you are by watching this video, this is for you. So their team vets hundreds of books each month and give their readers a choice from a curated selection of books that are new and early release titles. Sorry that the sun is like going in and out. They do that so that you can spend more time reading and less time researching on books, so they've got your back. The best part is they have a skip policy, so you can skip any month. You will not be charged. You are free of charge. So if one month you have some books to catch up on or you're not ready to get more books, that's okay. You can do so free of charge. You don't have to worry about that. Plus, they have the best prices for new hardcover releases, which is amazing because we know those can be pricey. So you can use my code SarahCrowley to get your first book for just $9.99, which is amazing. They also have October add-ons right now, so you guys as readers or whoever wants to do this can add up to 2 add-ons to their monthly box. They can either be add-ons or like backlist books, and you can sign up with any book you'd like. So all of this information, now you guys have it. Think about it. But now I'm going to show you the books that I got. I am just so excited. So let's start with the one that is in the box. So this is The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles. So this one takes place in 1954. The guy's name is Emmett. So he just got out of a juvenile work form, and now he just kind of has to start his new life. The guy who drives him out back into the town, there were 2 people in the trunk of the car from the same juvenile work thing, so they have to figure out life now back together. This one is a pretty thick book, but I love Book of the Month because you can choose genres that you don't really choose often, and that's my favorite part because you really get to try out new books. So this is definitely one of them for me. I am so excited about this one. So this book, Apples Never Fall by Liane Moriarty. This was part of the add-on. I am so excited. If you know me, you know I love Liane Moriarty. She's one of my favorite authors. I love all of her books that I have read from her. So this one I'm very excited about. So basically the first sentence of the summary, let me just read that and then tell me if you want to read it. If your mother was missing, would you tell the police even if the most obvious suspect was your father? Now that one's enticing. I love Liane Moriarty. I am very excited about this one. The next one is The Book of Magic by Alice Hoffman. Also excited about this one. So this one's about the family, the Owens family. They have been cursed. It happens with the aunt, or it starts with the aunt, and she only has, I think, like 6 or 7 days to live. 7 days to live. And then I have Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. So, oh, there's a heist in it. They're having a baby. Sounds really cool. Oh, in the early 1960s. Crime novel, social novel, Harlem. This one sounds very interesting. And then I have The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. I love the cover of this one because it has like this little broomstick that they're flying on. Very October-esque. So the main character is a witch. She puts a curse on her boyfriend. That sounds kind of fun. This one, probably one of the fun reads of October, being that there's magic in it, just like the other magic book. And then the last, oh, I have 2 more. The Perishing by Natasha Dion. I think these are all honestly really good to read for October because this one, a black immortal in the 1930s Los Angeles seeks to recover the memory of her past in the visionary novel. That sounds interesting as well. That sounds fun. And then the last one I have is Everything We Didn't Say by Nicole Bart. Her neighbors were murdered and her brother becomes the prime suspect. Now that's a murder mystery. I love those. So lots of books here, but they're all amazing. If you're interested, again, you can use my code for your first book to be $9.99. They have the best options recommendations for literally any kind of reader that you are. Highly recommend. All these fiction books are just perfect. I love Book of the Month so much. Thank you guys so much again for sending me these books, and I'm very excited to start reading them. So now into the books that I have read in September. Okay, so like I said, I did not read a lot of books this month. I read 5. That's not a lot. I usually go between like maybe 10 plus, but I'm gonna try to be better for October. I was just again in a slump, and then I tried to read a couple books and they weren't really doing it for me, but The Love Hypothesis is doing it for me, so I'm gonna finish that probably either today or tomorrow, and I said I started it yesterday, so that's happy news. I'm pretty sure all of these books that I'm about to talk about I have talked about in videos that have come out already because I made different videos for the past weeks. So I read In 5 Years by, who is that by? I completely forgot. Rebecca Searle. So I heard so many good things about this book. I actually saw it on TikTok a bunch of times. It got recommended to me. I saw it in Barnes & Noble on the table, and it sounded very intriguing. So basically it's about the main character. She kind of lives her life by numbers, I guess you could say. She has it all planned out. So one day she gets a promotion and she gets engaged to, and it's like the exact timeline that she wants, but when she goes to sleep that night, she kind of wakes up in some random apartment she's never seen before with this guy she's also never seen before, and she freaks out because her life is planned. That's not her fiance right now, and that's not anything that she had planned for her life. So she wakes back up, I think it's like an hour she's there, and she's freaking out because she's like, oh my god, in 5 years my life is going to be completely changed. So she kind of just tries to go throughout her life throughout these years and just avoid that happening, but as pieces fall into place, obviously she gets into that situation and it does happen. I rated it 2 out of 5. I didn't like this book. The characters were too bland for me. I think the storyline for it being like in the future she could see what happens, I think it could have been way, not crazier, but it could have been a lot more not intense. I don't know how to explain it. It was just very boring to me. I understand why the characters or what happened with the way it happened and where the author was going with it, but just for my personal taste, I wish it was a little bit crazier, a little bit more interesting. It was just kind of boring, and honestly, like, it was like pulling teeth for me to get into that book and read it, which was very hurtful. But I just didn't love her relationship, the main character, Danny, I'm pretty sure her name was, with her boyfriend, fiance, with her best friend. Didn't love it. Yeah, it just wasn't what I expected it to be, so not my favorite. And then I read 1,000 Boy Kisses, which I've talked about in a couple of videos. I rated this a 5 out of 5, which is very hard for me to do because I am very strict on what I rate my books. I don't do 5 out of 5s. I will do 4 or 4.5 out of 5s. But this book, this girl named Poppy and this guy named Rune, he's from a different country. I don't know if it's Sweden. He's from a different country, and he moves when he's really young right next to Poppy's house. Right off the bat, they're best friends. Her and Rune end up, even when they're like really young, together. Then he goes back to his country because his dad had a job there, and they like promised each other all these things, but then when he comes back a few years later, he's completely changed. Whole thing. But things just turn for the worse because they didn't keep in contact. Poppy stopped talking to him, and that is when I started bawling. Even the first chapter had me crying. If you don't like tearjerkers, don't read this. Also, if you don't like young adult, childish type of reads, really easy reads, don't read this because it was like a really quick read. But the way the author, the emotion in it, and just the plot over the second half of the book, I just couldn't contain myself. I had to put my Kindle down at some points. I literally could not breathe. I was crying so hard. So if you don't like tearjerkers and you don't like easy reads, don't read this book. But if you do like those two things, even if you don't love young adult, which I don't really love young adult, I still connected with it so hard. It was just very heartbreaking, but I just loved the message. I loved the characters. I loved everything about it. So for me, it was amazing. Definitely recommend. All right, so I read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. That one, oh, I have that one. I have at least one book with me. Okay, so I read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. So this one is about Quinn, who it's kind of like in the past, it starts, goes to surprise her, is it her fiance or boyfriend? I don't remember. Surprise him at his apartment because she's back from whatever work thing she was doing, and then she sees a guy standing outside. She's like, what are you doing here? And the guy's like, well, my girlfriend's in there with your boyfriend right now. They were cheating on these two people that were waiting outside. Fast forward to the future, the two people that were outside ended up dating, getting married, but their marriage is just not going very well. And you understand why. It kind of explains everything. I didn't read the back of this book before reading it just because I trust Colleen and I just want to read all of her books, so I just got it and read it. So I wasn't completely sure what the story was going to be about. It's like a storyline I wouldn't normally choose, but I'm really glad that I did. It was very good. I really liked it, but I didn't love the main character girl. I thought she was kind of rude sometimes, but again, I can't really connect to what she was feeling, so like that's not something that I can really base my opinion on her from. I just feel like there's other ways to go around her relationship with Graham. The guy's name was Graham. He's an angel. I love him so much. If you've read this book, he's just so perfect. I loved it so much. I loved the ending, how it all came together, because there's one part, Colleen always throws something in there for you, but I just loved the ending so much. I didn't love the plot, and whatnot, like that whole thing. But I just feel like what I always say about Colleen, she always ends up writing in a way that like I read this book in less than a day. So even though I'm saying I didn't love the storyline, it's still amazing writing because I love her so much. She just does no wrong to me. I'm just a huge stan. It was a good book. It was a good read, just not my favorite storyline, I guess you could say. I rated it a 3 out of 5. Then I read Malibu Rising. So if you've been here before, you know I did not like The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I didn't like One True Loves. I still have to read Daisy Jones and the Six, so I didn't read that one yet, but those two I didn't like. So I was like, okay, maybe I just don't like Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing. But I read this one in literally a day. I sped through it. I actually really liked this one. I loved the setting of it. I loved the story. I loved the characters, which is a little bit different than what I usually say about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing. Not my favorite, but this one I loved. It's about 4 siblings who have a famous father. It's taken place in like the I don't really remember the date, but it's in the past. Famous father, and it's basically how they're growing up together and their lives going on. They have a huge party every year, and just like stuff goes down at the party. What I didn't like was at the party, I feel like there was a few characters that were kind of brought up that were just never brought up again. I feel like they were just put there to really paint the picture of the party because it's like all the A-list celebrities go. I feel like if they weren't part of that, the ending would have been a little bit more stronger for me. But all in all, I rated it a 4 out of 5. I really liked it, like a lot. I will say it was a bit predictable at some points. I wish there was like a little bit of a plot twist that you didn't expect coming, because when things are coming, you kind of like, you're like, okay, I know what's gonna happen now. And I feel like most of her books tend to give that same kind of predictableness. Well, the ones that I've read, and that's where I stand a little indifferent with her writing, I guess you could say. Still, I liked the book. I thought it was great, so 4 out of 5. And then I read Archer's Voice. Now this I just talked about in my Steph Boers reading video. So I started this book when I first got to school, which was a couple weeks ago. I rated this at 4 out of 5, but I said that I feel like it had the potential to be a 5 out of 5, but I was reading it when I was just getting into school and schoolwork and stuff, so I had to keep putting it down, and then I would start it again in like 3 or 4 days later, and I was like so confused with what's going on. I had to get back into it. But if I read it consecutively like I do normally with books, I think I would have rated it a 5 out of 5. It was so good. So this girl, I forgot her name, but she moves to a new town to kind of just like refresh and start for like a month. She's supposed to stay there. She meets the town people. It's a smaller town. She meets Archer. Oh, I loved it so much. I love that there's 2 point of views. There's a lot of trauma in it. A lot of trauma that's kind of like a little too much sometimes, but I just thought it was so good. I love the message with it. I loved the characters. Very wholesome and sweet. I loved it a lot. I did, again, wish I read it quicker, but I mean, that's just, it happens. The ending, I thought I predicted it, but then like a whole different twist comes, and it's just like, I absolutely loved it so much. So I think I'm gonna try to read it again in one fell swoop and see if I can give it a 5 out of 5, which I think I can. And a lot of people were telling me it's their comfort book, which I can see that. So I'm definitely gonna try to read that one again when I can. That's all the books that I read in September. I'm currently reading, like I said, The Love Hypothesis. It's so good right now. I've never read an academia love kind of story, but we'll get into that eventually. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I am loving this book content. I am finally getting back into my book reading world. So if you have any recommendations, leave them down below. I definitely want to read, like I say every video, Love in Other Words. I want to read I said the Off-Campus series everyone's telling me to read, so I'm gonna try to do that one. A few more that people are throwing at me, a little bit of thrillers that I want to get into. So okay, again, if you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to see more from me in the future, and I will see you guys hopefully in the next one. Bye.